Lena Carter once had fingers that danced. They flew across the piano keys. They made music that could make you cry or laugh or just stop and listen. People said she was a prodigy, a star in the making. She had a contract. She had a future. It was all laid out, a perfect, beautiful melody. Then came Victor Thorn. He was powerful, a music producer with a smile like a shark's. He saw her talent, he saw her music, and he took it. He took everything. He claimed her masterpiece, echoes of a lost soul, as his own. He won awards with it. He became a legend. Lena tried to fight. She shouted the truth, but no one listened. He made sure of that. He crushed her career. He made her a ghost. So Lena vanished. She disappeared from the glittering world of concert halls and standing ovations. For 10 long years she was nobody. She worked quiet jobs. She lived in small, forgotten flats. But the music never left her. It was a constant hum beneath the surface of her quiet life. It was a fire that refused to go out. She would sit in the dark, her fingers playing silent tunes on a dusty tabletop. She remembered every note of the music Victor had stolen. She remembered every lie he had told. The anger didn't fade. It sharpened. It became a tool. She didn't want violence. She wanted something more powerful. She wanted justice. She wanted the world to hear the truth in her own key. Her plan began to take shape, slowly, meticulously. It was a composition of its own, full of complex movements and hidden meanings. Lena learned new skills. She became an expert in sound engineering. She understood acoustics, wiring, and digital mixers better than anyone. She studied Victor Thorn. She learned his habits, his routines, his fears. She knew he was hosting the annual Golden Clef Gala. It was his night of triumph, a celebration of his empire. He would be presenting his latest protégé, a young pianist named Daniel. And Daniel would be playing a new piece by the great Victor Thorn. Lena knew, with a cold certainty, that this would be her stage. Getting inside was the easy part. No one looks twice at the sound crew. Lena, disguised in a plain black uniform and a baseball cap, became just another face in the backstage chaos. She was invisible again, but this time it was by her own design. She moved through the Grand Theatre, a ghost in the wings. She checked the wiring, she tested the microphones. She had access to everything. The entire audio-visual system of the Grand Hall was at her fingertips. She was the conductor of a silent orchestra, waiting for her moment to bring the house down. Her heart beat a steady rhythm against her ribs, a drumbeat counting down to the final, dramatic chord of her revenge. The gala was a sea of glittering gowns and expensive champagne. Victor Thorn stood on the stage, basking in the applause. He was a king in his court. He spoke of art, of passion, of nurturing new talent. Lena watched him from the sound booth high above the crowd. She felt a cold, calm detachment. He introduced Daniel, the young pianist who was about to play Victor's new composition. Daniel looked nervous. He sat at the magnificent grand piano, its polished surface reflecting the stage lights. The audience hushed. The first notes were meant to fill the hall. Lena had other plans. She had spent hours preparing for this moment. Her fingers hovered over the mixing desk. As Daniel began to play, something went wrong. The sound was off. A strange, discordant feedback screeched through the speakers. The beautiful melody became a garbled mess. The audience winced. Victor's smile faltered. He shot a furious look towards the sound booth. Panic began to flicker in his eyes. Lena made a small adjustment. The sound cut out completely. Then it returned, but warped and distorted, like a nightmare version of the music. Daniel stopped playing, his face pale with confusion and embarrassment. The silence in the hall was heavy. It was thick with awkwardness and failure. This was Victor's night, and it was unraveling, thread by thread. Victor stormed towards the side of the stage, his face a mask of rage. He hissed at the stage manager, "What is going on? Fix it now!" But they couldn't. Lena was in control. She let the silence hang for a moment longer, letting the tension build. She saw Victor's composure cracking. This man, who had built an empire on control, was losing it in front of everyone who mattered. He prided himself on flawless productions. This public humiliation was a deeper cut than any physical blow. Lena watched him, her expression unreadable. this was only the beginning of her performance. The real show was about to start. She allowed the main speakers to come back online, clear and crisp this time. A collective sigh of relief went through the audience. Victor, thinking the problem was solved, gestured for Daniel to begin again. The boy took a deep breath and placed his hands on the keys. But before he could play a single note, a new sound filled the hall. It wasn't coming from the piano, it was coming from the speakers. It was a voice from the past. It was Victor's voice captured on a recording from 10 years ago. It was a voice full of arrogance and greed. Lena had found the old studio tapes. She had found the proof. The voice that echoed through the theatre was clear and cruel. The girl? Oh, Lena, she's nobody. A little talent, perhaps, but no head for business. The music is mine now. Who are they going to believe, her or me? The recording continued. It was Victor talking to a lawyer, boasting about how he had doctored contracts, how he had stolen Lena's work. The audience sat in stunned silence. Their faces, once full of admiration, were now a mixture of shock and disgust. They looked from the stage to the speakers, then back to the man frozen in the spotlight. Victor Thorne's face had turned a ghastly shade of white. He looked trapped. He looked small. He tried to signal to the sound booth. He mouthed, "Cut it!" But Lena ignored him. She let the recording play on. Every word was a hammer blow against the pedestal he had built for himself. The recording detailed how he had blacklisted Lena, making sure no other label would touch her. It was a confession, laid bare for the entire world to hear. Daniel, the young pianist, stood up from the piano. He looked at Victor not with fear, but with dawning horror and contempt. He had worshipped this man. Now he saw him for what he was, a thief, a liar, a fraud. The glamorous facade of Victor Thorne was crumbling into dust. Then Lena added her final touch. As the recording of Victor's voice faded, a new sound began. It was the piano, but Daniel wasn't playing it. The keys were moving on their own. Lena had rigged the grand piano, turning it into a player piano she could control from the booth, and the music it played was beautiful. It was haunting. It was a melody full of pain and loss and a flicker of hope. It was echoes of a lost soul. It was Lena's music, played exactly as she had written it a decade ago. It was her soul speaking through the keys. The melody washed over the audience, a wave of pure, undeniable genius. It was the music they had heard before, the music they had attributed to Victor. But now they heard it differently. They heard the truth in it. They heard the stolen voice of Lena Carter. The music was her testimony. It was her revenge. It was not loud or violent. It was quiet and elegant and utterly devastating. In that moment, everyone in the hall knew. They knew what Victor had done. Lena had not just exposed a crime. She had reclaimed her art in the most public way imaginable. The ghost had returned to the stage. The fallout was immediate and absolute. Victor Thorne's empire collapsed overnight. The recording was everywhere. The news channels played it on a loop. Artists he represented began to leave his label in droves. Lawsuits were filed. Investigations were launched. His name, once a symbol of success, became a byword for deceit. Daniel, the young pianist, was one of the first to speak out. He held a press conference the very next day. He told reporters about other artists Victor had exploited, other secrets buried in the foundations of his corrupt empire. He became an unexpected ally, giving a voice to others who had been silenced. Victor's downfall was complete. Lena watched it all from a distance. She didn't stay for the applause or the apologies. She had done what she came to do. She slipped away from the theatre just as she had arrived, a shadow in the night. She didn't want fame or fortune. She just wanted to be heard. Her revenge was not about destroying Victor, but about rebuilding herself. It was about letting her music live again, free from the cage he had put it in. Justice had been served, not in a courtroom, but in a concert hall, through the power of a single stolen song. The world now knew the name Lena Carter. In the weeks that followed, a new mystery began to unfold in the music world. A series of anonymous compositions started appearing online. They were posted on small independent platforms with no name attached. The music was incredible. It was complex, emotional, and utterly original. It was unmistakably the work of the composer of Echoes of a Lost Soul. The world was listening. Critics raved about the mysterious new artist. Fans shared the music, trying to uncover the identity of the genius behind it. They didn't need to know her name. They just needed to hear her voice. Lena Carter had found her new stage. It wasn't a grand hall or a glittering gala. It was the quiet, infinite space of the internet. She was free. She could create without pressure, without the threat of someone like Victor looming over her. Her music belonged to her, and she shared it on her own terms. She remained a ghost, but now she was a ghost who haunted the world with beauty. Her silent reckoning was over. The final cadence of her revenge was not an ending, but a new and mysterious beginning. Her music was out in the world, and finally, she was at peace.